The Story of the Mughal Empire, Part 1, The Rise of Babur. The wind was cold that morning in the mountain valleys of Fergana, a small kingdom nestled between the snow-capped ranges of Central Asia. The year was 1483, and a cry rang through the royal palace. A prince was born. His mother named him Zahir-ud-Din Muhammad, but the world would one day call him Babur, the tiger. Childhood of a conqueror. Babur was born into a world of ambition and blood. His father, Umar Sheikh Mirza, was a descendant of the great conqueror Timur Tamerlane, while his mother traced her lineage to Genghis Khan, the Mongol emperor. From birth, power and conquest ran through his veins. Yet his childhood was anything but peaceful. When Babur was just 11 years old, his father died after falling from the battlements of his pigeon tower. In an instant, the young boy became ruler of a fragile kingdom surrounded by enemies and treachery. Fergana was small, its soldiers few, and its nobles restless. Rival princes coveted the throne, but even at 11, Babur was no ordinary child. In his diary, the Baburnama, he later wrote, "I was young, yet my heart was full of ambition." Kingship is a heavy burden, but courage is the weapon that lightens it. Struggles in Central Asia. The young prince dreamed of Samarkand, the fabled city of his ancestor Timur, a city of blue domes, silk markets and mosques that glittered beneath the desert sun. To rule Samarkand was to claim the heritage of Timur himself. At 15, Babur marched toward his dream. Through cunning and courage, he captured Samarkand, but his triumph was short-lived. As he celebrated his victory, rebels rose behind him in Fergana. Within months, he lost both his kingdom and the city he had fought so hard to win. He was forced to wander, sometimes as a fugitive, sometimes as a general without a home. Yet defeat could not break him. He wrote, "To be without a kingdom is a bitter thing, but a heart that endures will find another throne." For years, Babur battled rival princes, always chasing the ghost of Samarkand. He won it back briefly, lost it again, and watched his soldiers scatter. He had tasted both glory and ruin before he turned 25. The search for destiny disheartened, Babur turned his gaze south, toward the rich plains of Hindustan, India. Stories reached him of golden cities, fertile lands, and armies wealthy but undisciplined. The Delhi Sultanate, once powerful, was now divided and weak. India, Babur thought, was a land waiting for a ruler with vision. But before he could march south, he needed a base. He set his eyes on Kabul, a city between the mountains and deserts, the gateway to India. In 1504, Babur marched with a small army, seized Kabul, and finally found stability. For the first time in his turbulent life, he had a throne to rule, soldiers to command, and peace to dream. In Kabul, Babur became not just a warrior, but a patron of poetry, gardens, and culture. He filled his court with scholars and architects. He would often climb the hills overlooking the city and write verses in Persian, his language of art and thought. "Kabul is a city of gardens," he wrote. "The air is pure and the scent of flowers fills the wind, yet my heart longs for Samarkand still, the call of India." By the 1520s, the political landscape of northern India was crumbling. The Delhi Sultanate under Ibrahim Lodi was weak and unpopular. The Afghan nobles were divided, and the Rajput kings were powerful but disunited. Meanwhile, Babur, now in his 40s, had become a seasoned general. He had cannons, cavalry, and the discipline of Central Asian warriors. He saw what no one else could see, the future. When Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab, invited Babur to intervene against Sultan Ibrahim, he seized the chance. In 1524, Babur crossed the Indus River with a small army, testing the strength of the Indian plains. He returned to Kabul, but he had seen enough. The time had come, the march to empire. In 1526, Babur began his great invasion. He led around 12,000 soldiers, a mix of Turks, Uzbeks, and Persians, equipped with something new in Indian warfare: gunpowder artillery. Opposing him was Sultan Ibrahim Lodi, who commanded over 100,000 men and 1,000 war elephants. On the fields near Panipat, north of Delhi, the fate of India would be decided. The First Battle of Panipat. It was dawn on April 21st, 1526. The mist hung low as Babur's army lined up in battle formation. He arranged his troops using the Ottoman-style Tulukma formation, anchoring his artillery in the center and placing cavalry wings on either side for encirclement. When the battle began, Babur's cannons roared, thunderous explosions that terrified Lodi's elephants. Smoke filled the air, the ground shook. Lodi's massive army tried to charge, but their formation collapsed under the disciplined gunfire and cavalry attacks. Hours later, the battlefield was silent. Ibrahim Lodi lay dead among thousands of fallen soldiers. Babur had achieved what countless invaders before him had failed to do. He had conquered Delhi, not through sheer numbers, but through strategy, discipline, and innovation. The Mughal Empire was born, the founding of the empire. When Babur entered Delhi, he was not dazzled by its riches. His heart was heavy with the loss of friends who had died in battle. In his memoir, he wrote, "This victory was not won by strength alone, but by the grace of God and the courage of my men." He did not plunder the city as past conquerors had done. Instead, he brought order and stability. He sent word to Kabul, "Tell my sons, the empire of Hindustan is ours. Guard it with justice, for the sword may win a land, but only the heart can keep it." Babur set about organizing his new territories. He distributed land to his loyal nobles, ensured taxes were fair, and kept his soldiers disciplined. Yet he struggled with the Indian climate. He missed the cool winds of Kabul and the snow of Samarkand. Still, he worked tirelessly, determined to lay the foundation of a dynasty that would last beyond him. The Poet Emperor. Despite his battles, Babur was no mere conqueror. He was a poet, a lover of gardens, and a man who sought beauty even in war. In Agra, he built gardens modelled after the Persian style, rivers of symmetry, trees of shade, fountains that sparkled under the sun. He named one of them Bagh-e-Gul Afshan, the Garden of Flower Scattering. Babur's writings reveal a deeply human side, a man torn between duty and desire, war and peace. In one passage, he writes, "Empire is not only about conquest. It is about justice, mercy, and the heart's yearning for harmony." He loved music, poetry, and conversation. His court was alive with artists, scholars, and commanders from across Asia. The last days of Babur. But the glory of kingship comes at a price. Only 4 years after his triumph, Babur's health began to fail. In 1530, his beloved son Humayun fell gravely ill. The emperor, desperate and devout, prayed to God, "Take my life instead and let my son live." According to legend, soon after, Humayun recovered and Babur fell ill. On December 26, 1530, the founder of the Mughal Empire died at the age of 47. His body was first buried in Agra, but later moved to his beloved Kabul, to the garden he had built on a hillside overlooking the valley. There he rests, the man who dreamed of Samarkand but found eternity in India. The legacy of the first Mughal Babur's reign was short, but his legacy was immense. He united courage with culture, war with wisdom, and left behind not just a throne but a vision. He gave India a new dynasty, one that would rule for over 3 centuries, bringing forth emperors like Akbar the Great, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb. The empire he built from dust and determination would grow into one of the most magnificent civilizations in history, blending Persian art, Indian architecture, and Central Asian strength into a unique tapestry.